Let's get you caught up on the top story of the morning after U.S. stocks saw the biggest two-day wipeout in history as markets lose $11 trillion since Inauguration Day. That was Friday's news. They're now sinking lower before the opening bell for a third consecutive trading day in response to President Trump's tariffs. The president remains committed to his trade policies, writing on social media last night that they are a beautiful thing to behold. Last night on Air Force One, he was asked if about his tariffs and their impact on the markets.
We have to solve our trade deficit with China. We have $1 trillion trade deficit with China. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year we lose with China. And unless we solve that problem, I'm not going to make a deal. Now, what's going to happen with the market, I can't tell you. But I can tell you our country has gotten a lot stronger. And eventually, it'll be a country like no other. It'll be the most dominant country economically in the world.
Is there pain in the market? At some point, you're unwilling to tolerate this idea of a Trump put. Is there a threshold?
I think your question is so stupid. I mean, I think it's I don't want anything to go down. But sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something.
You know, Zanny,
medicine.
I have... Well, again, it's voluntary.
If you're
but there's also,
sick, you take medicine.
Zanny, there's also something here, and we have a lot more to get to as far as just getting the news over the weekend, but I just want you to clarify something that's said there. When the president talks about trade deficits, it's one thing if you're talking about America's trade deficits with the EU, America's trade deficits with China, okay? There's almost some equity there, but there are a lot of trade deficits, say with Vietnam. We're always going to have trade deficits with Vietnam because Vietnam is going to make things more cheaply for us, and we're going to import things from Vietnam. We're not going to be exporting heavy machinery and a lot of advanced equipment to Vietnam along the same scale. So they're just naturally, because the United States is the global economic superpower, there's just going to be some countries where they're going to be trade deficits because they're going to make cheap things for people who live in Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the notion that you should have a balanced trade with every single trading partner is completely economically illiterate. It's like saying that every company needs to have, exact reciprocal trade with every single one of its suppliers. It just doesn't make any sense for the reasons that you lay out. You can talk about the overall trade deficit of the U.S., which has a lot to do with how much Americans save and invest. But to talk about needing bilateral balance with every country, literally, that makes no sense.
I want to ask you, based on everything you've read over the weekend, everything you've heard from the president, everything you heard from the president's advisors, where do you think this is going? Obviously, this isn't just a simple example as, let's say, Bill Ackman and other people must have thought when they went all in with Donald Trump, where he's going to sort of flex his muscles rhetorically and then do a deal. But what's your best read, and what's the economist's best read on where we are right now, and how long this is going to be going before the president tries to strike those deals with other countries?
So I'm looking at two things. Firstly, I was struck by just how strongly he came out at the weekend. I mean, this was President Trump doubling down. But at the same time, if you see what's happening in markets, and I'm now beginning to look not just at markets tumbling, but panic selling. This is really beginning to feel like 2008. Like, I'm worried about markets dysfunctionally melting down. If that happens, I wouldn't be surprised if the president declares victory but puts the implementation of those tariffs, which, remember, is coming in on Wednesday. He may put them on hold. I think the next 2 days are really crucial. If the markets continue to melt down, I think it's perfectly possible that he calls a hold. He'll declare it a victory. He'll say 50 countries want to negotiate. Everyone wants to negotiate. I'm going to give them time to negotiate. He'll be like the king giving, every one of his citizens a little bit of a break. But he may well do that, I think, if the markets continue to tumble.
All right. Over the weekend, a few Senate Republicans expressed concerns over President Trump's tariff plans as the stock market went into a tailspin. Senators shared their general support for the president's goals, but wondered aloud what it might mean for constituents and the overall economy.
But the stock market does matter. About 62% of Americans have money in the market. The wealth effect is real. There's reliable data that shows that for every $1 that the stock market or one's holdings in the stock market goes down, people spend 25 cents less. Well, we're a consumer-driven economy, and if people are spending less, that's going to affect your GDP. And so I'm not going to bubble wrap it. What's happening is not good. Now, will it continue? Will we find a bottom and then it'll start to go back up? I hope so.
Let's start with what's indisputable. America has been very generous in terms of offering access to our markets to our global competition. Some of our global trading partners have taken advantage of that. There are many products that are vital and strategic to America that we no longer produce. That's a national security risk. That should concern everybody. What President Trump is initiating here, this is a long-held belief that he believes that tariffs will correct those problems. But what's also indisputable is the markets are down about 8% in just 2 days, and I'm getting all kinds of reaction from businesses, farmers in Wisconsin that are highly concerned about what's happening. So those are the facts. I don't know, all I can really do is kind of report the reality to the administration, let them know, how these actions are impacting my constituents, and it'll be pretty much up to President Trump and his administration to determine exactly how long they're going to go down this road.
And I got to say, if we're in a scenario 30 days from now, 60 days from now, 90 days from now, with massive American tariffs and massive tariffs on American goods in every other country on earth, that is a terrible outcome. It's terrible for Texas, which obviously I care about deeply, and it's terrible for America. It will hurt jobs and hurt America. Number one, it would destroy jobs here at home and do real damage to the U.S. economy if we had tariffs everywhere. Number two, and this is a virtual certainty, inflation, this is going to have a powerful upward impact on inflation.